Or perhaps we make a gift to some individual and later we think he really didn't deserve my help, or he really wasn't worthy of my gift. And again, by virtue of this notion, we taint, or we sully, we reduce, we damage the purity of that act of giving. But with the mandala offering, this doesn't happen because the action is ideal. In other words, we create this ideal situation. We have the mandala, which represents the universe. We create the mountains and continents and so forth of the universe, and we offer this universe to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. All of this, because it is ideal, it has no negative taints, it has no regrets, it doesn't provoke any second thoughts. We can offer the mandala offering again and again without worrying about our bank account. So it's ideal action, and in many ways this is something which all ritual has in common. It's all ideal, it's created, it's an action which we do according to certain prescriptions established by tradition, conjoined, associated with certain intentions. But it takes place, in a sense, within an ideal universe, within an ideal world. So having said that, let's look specifically at the kinds of Buddhist rituals that exist and what purposes they serve. One of the most popular forms of ritual and purposes fulfilled by rituals in the religious world in general, and I'm speaking here not specifically about the Buddhist religion, but I'm speaking about religions in general. One of the most common purposes is the purpose of propitiation. Now, this form of ritual is very common in non-Buddhist religions. It's a rather crude form of ritual. Essentially, this ritual operates on the principle, I give to you and you give to me. So, for example, in primitive religions and even in some modern ones, this usually took the form of sacrifice. So the practitioner would sacrifice something, maybe fruits and vegetables, maybe clarified butter, often, unfortunately, animals, would sacrifice something to the deities because the practitioner wanted something from the deities. Wanted a son, or a cure for an illness, or wanted success in business or in agriculture, or whatever. The sacrifice was performed in order to get something from the deity, from the extraordinary or supernatural powers. Now, the Buddha and Buddhism, of course, rejected this form of ritual, rejected the notion of sacrifice. In a famous discourse, the Buddha said, sacrifice your unwholesome actions. That is the real sacrifice. But nonetheless, the propitiatory ritual does continue to exist in a transformed or modified form in Buddhism, so that we still do propitiate bodhisattvas, tantric deities. We propitiate them to remove obstacles, to grant us freedom from diseases, to help us in our worldly and in our spiritual pursuits. So we still do have propitiatory rites and rituals in Buddhism. For example, when we perform long life rituals, or in some instances even the Tata ritual. Various rituals in which we invoke the assistance of these benevolent forces, these deities, for help in our undertakings. So this form of ritual is one form of ritual that exists in Buddhism, and it is a form which is quite common, quite frequently practiced. Another form of ritual in Buddhism is rituals of purification. We have several instances of these kinds of rituals. We have, I suppose, first and foremost, the Vajrasattva meditations, which are for purification. We have also the various year-end rituals, which are performed to see out the old year, which are not, strictly speaking, or exclusively Buddhist rituals, but which are incorporated within the body of Buddhist practices. And we have rituals also like the rinsing of the mouth at a point in certain initiations. Other symbolic acts of purification. So rituals of purification also figure in the Buddhist collection of rituals, in the Buddhist repertoire of rituals. Then we have many, many rituals in Buddhism which are rituals of affirmation, rituals of reconfirmation. And in this category I would put such ritual acts as prostration, as salutation with folded hands, as circumambulation. All of these are rituals of affirmation. They affirm the exalted, sublime status of the Buddha, of the Guru, of the friend of virtue, of the stupa, of the place of pilgrimage, and so forth. Ritual acts of affirmation. And then the ritual acts of confirmation, which are, for example, the recitation of the refuge formula, in which we reconfirm our participation in the Buddhist community. We reconfirm our respect for and loyalty to the Triple Gem. Something similar to a pledge of allegiance in the secular world. Confirmation or a reconfirmation of our status as Buddhists, as practitioners of the teachings of the Buddha. The recitation of the refuge, the reputation of the 5 precepts. Again, an act, a ritual act of reconfirmation, reconfirming our commitment to observe the precepts. And of course, within the monastic community, this takes the form of the periodic recitation of the monastic rules, a reconfirmation of our membership of a person's membership in the monastic community. So these are the first and in some ways perhaps the lesser Buddhist rituals. The rituals of propitiation,